Something shifts in the room, maybe a tone or the way a pause landed, and before there's a thought about it, the chest is already tighter. You didn't decide to respond, you didn't weigh the situation and decide a response made sense. In fact, by the time you noticed, the body had already voted. When your body reacts like that, chest tight, breath shallow, on edge for no reason you can name, what is it actually responding to? Not the past, something happening right now. And the difference between those two things is most of what this video is about. There's a phrase that shows up often in trauma writing: the body keeps the score. It's helped a lot of people feel recognized, that what they experienced was real and the physical responses weren't invented, which is really important. So, as a description of lived experience, it works. As a description of what the body's actually doing, there may be a more precise way to say it. It's not storage, it's something more active than that. The brain body system is predicting. So the brain doesn't passively receive body signals and report them accurately, it interprets them through a model. And the sensing of those internal body signals is called interoception. But the important part here isn't the sensing, it's that the brain reads those signals through a prior. It's a model built from everything that's happened before at any given moment. And then the brain body system generates a prediction of what the internal state should be given the current context. So the incoming signals get compared against that prediction. And when they match, the system settles. When they don't, something has to happen with that gap. Either adjust the model or flag the signal as more important than it first looked. So after significant trauma, that prior can shift. The real threat conditions the system learned affects those certain body states that were accurate signals of danger. The chest tightening, the breathing going shallow, those were real correlates of real threat, and the learning was accurate at the time. The difficulty is the prior doesn't automatically reset when those circumstances change. The same body state keeps being read as evidence of danger, even when the current situation doesn't warrant it. And because it keeps being read that way, the responses it produces start to feel like confirmation. It ends up in this confirmation loop where what that does to how it feels is not "I'm probably in danger," but it's something closer to "this is just true." And the chest tightening feels like proof. The body's voted, and its vote arrives with a weight that conscious reassurance can't easily reach. It's not a failure of intelligence or will. It's what happens when a body signal is being read through a prior that assigns it high weight as threat evidence. The brain isn't simply reading the body, it's reading the body through a model. And when that model is biased toward threat, the body's signal tends to confirm it. It creates this feedback loop that isn't easy to interrupt through language because the body's vote wasn't cast in language. So it's not going to update through language alone. When the load gets high enough, the system doesn't always respond the same way. Some people notice the system turning up with scanning accelerating, the body bracing, attention narrows, slightly ready for something, even when nothing is happening. And others notice it going the other direction, a kind of flatness or things happening out of remove. Feelings that should arrive don't quite reach. And this one is easy to overlook. It gets missed more often because it looks like calm from the outside. So some people cycle between them. Some experience both at once in different parts of the day. And these can have a pretty strong impact on things like behavior or how personality gets expressed. They're not personality types, they're the system trying to manage a signal load it hasn't been able to resolve. And the flexibility to move between states is part of what sustained threat can erode. Neither pattern is a choice, both can continue past the conditions that produce them. It's not because the person is stuck, but because the system hasn't yet accumulated enough evidence that something different is warranted. This is where the knowledge gap opens. Understanding that the knowing doesn't reach the body is a pretty core factor with PTSD because knowing the diagnosis, having read the research, doesn't mean the body will respond accordingly. And knowing something and the body updating are two different processes. They don't share one simple channel. So the thinking part can update fast with new information. The part of you that's predicting through the body updates slower through what the body actually goes through, not through what you tell yourself about it. The body needs its own version of the evidence. It's not an argument. It needs to be in situations that don't match what it's predicting again and again for long enough that the model starts to shift. That's why recovery being slow isn't evidence that something's wrong. The system is doing what these systems do when they're confident. It holds on to the model until it's seen enough evidence to actually change. And because that confidence came from somewhere real, the original learning was accurate. Meeting that bar takes time. It's not a malfunction, it's the system working the way it was built to work, with circumstances that have changed more than it knows. The body isn't holding the past hostage. It's running a prediction that was accurate once and hasn't yet been given enough reason to revise. And that's a different problem than storage. So it points towards a different kind of work. It's not excavation, but the slow accumulation of new evidence at the level where the old prediction still has weight. The prior updates when the body gets evidence it can actually use. So, not an explanation, more experience.